بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فمن حاجك فيه من بعد ما جاءك من العلم فقل تعالوا ندعو أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءنا ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم ثم نبتهل فنجعل لعنة الله على الكاذبين آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls, the enlightenment of the hearts, for the acceptance of our deeds, and for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Savior Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Respected elders, sisters and brothers in Islam, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. This event is considered to be an important and indeed significant during the life of the Holy Prophet of Islam. It is mentioned in the Holy Quran across 3 ayat, and it's an incident that highlights the brilliance as well as the superiority of the family of the Holy Prophet. Al-Mubahala, or the event of the malediction, was an important event during the life of Sayyid al-Shuhada Aba Abdullah al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. 24th of the month of Dhul Hijjah, 9 after Hijrah, or as some scholars such as Allama Tabatabai say 6 years after Hijrah, is the date in which 60 scholars of the Christian faith came forward from the city of Najran to the holy city of Medina. Najran is a city that was established by the Romans, dates back 4,000 years. It's a city in which they indeed established at the outset when they set themselves in Arabia. And it's a city today that has many of the followers of the Ahl al-Bayt as well as of those who are Ismaili. Najran indeed was at that time a Christian city. And what happened was that these 60 scholars came to Medina to meet the Messenger of God. They came headed by a man by the name of I.E.C. And he was quite prestigious, he was honorable, he was honored by the Roman Empire several times and the Roman kings. They emerged, but they had luxury clothes and they were wearing jewelry. They came to the mosque of the Holy Prophet, Masjidun Nabi, and it was after Salatul Asr. When they came, they wanted to pray. And the Prophet of Islam allowed them to pray inside the mosque. When they finished their prayers, they came to the Messenger of God. They greeted the Messenger and wanted to speak to him, but the Holy Prophet ignored them. He did not speak to them. They tried, but the Prophet did not respond to them. They went to Amir al-Mu'mineen and said, Ya Ali, why is Muhammad not speaking to us? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, you need to approach him with simple clothing. They ditched the luxury clothing and the jewelry, and they came to the Messenger of God. When they came later, the Prophet said, when they first came to me, I saw shaitan with them. Then they began to speak. They said, Ya Muhammad, why is it that you insult our man, sahibuna? He says, who is your man? They said, Isa ibn Maryam. He said, what do you mean? They said that he is the son of God. The Prophet said, Isa is Abdullah wa ruhuhu wa kalimatuhu allati alqaha ila Maryam. Isa ibn Maryam is the servant of God. He is the word of God. He is the spirit of God, as in created by Allah, that was placed inside Maryam. They said, no, he is God. He came in the form of human being. How can a person be born without a father? Thereafter, a verse in the Quran in chapter 3 verse 59 is revealed. إِنَّ مَثَلَ عِيسَى عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ آدَمَ. The similitude of Isa in the eyes of Allah is like that of Adam. خَلَقَهُ مِنْ تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ قَالَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. He created him from soil and said to him, be, and he became. After such discussion, these 60 individuals, they said that we will deliberate, we will think about it. Next day they came back and said, we are not convinced. At that moment, they were invited for what? Mubahala. This act which is known as asking God the Almighty to send His punishment and to withdraw the mercy from the group of people who are considered to be liars. They said amongst themselves, let's see who Muhammad brings with him. If he brings his family with him, then this gives us an indication that he is what? Truthful. Because nobody wants to see their family hurt. They were so convinced that they will be victorious. So they observed. Narrations tell us, numerous narrations highlight that on the 24th of Dhul Hijjah, the Messenger of God, Al-Rasul Al-A'zam wa Nabi Al-Akram, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, emerged. With him what? He was holding Imam Al-Hasan and Hussain, peace be upon them. Behind him was the Lady of Light, Fatima, and behind her was whom? Amir al-Mu'mineen. Peace and blessings be upon them. When they emerged towards these individuals, their leader said to them, the leader of the Christians of Najran, said to their followers that we can see faces that are glowing with light. These faces, if they ask God the Almighty to move the mountains will move. And if they go through the Mubahala malediction, not a single Christian will remain until the day of Qiyamah. They therefore agreed what is known as the jizya. It's interesting because narrations tell us people observed some changes to the environment and to what? To the weather. For example, the sky darkened. Some say the earth began to shake. Others say we saw the wind what? Became black and the clouds emerged. They agreed and they indeed wrote an agreement written by Amir al-Mu'mineen that they will pay what is known as the Islamic tax, protected and looked after by the Islamic state at that time of the Holy Prophet of Islam. And indeed they entered into this agreement. What is interesting, of course, is the observation that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this event in the Holy Quran. The first thing that emerges is what? Is that the Almighty Jalla wa Ala has highlighted the significance and the importance of seeking the Ahl al-Bayt for the supplications to be answered. What do you mean? that the Prophet of Islam can and would have gone by himself. In other words, the mubahala would have been successful if Rasulullah would go and challenge these individuals and tell them that I am ready. But the Quran tells us that bring your sons and bring your women, and we will bring ourselves too, and we will ask Allah that He will punish those who are liars. Therefore, it establishes the legitimacy of what is known as tawassul. Tawassul, seeking intercession of the Ahlul Bayt. One of the proofs that we have is the incident of Mubahala, isn't it? That Rasulullah would bring with him his awliya Ahlul Bayt and would say to them, when I supplicate, when I raise my hands, you also raise your hands and say Ameen. Together, collectively, we will pray. That's number one. Number two, it highlights the importance of the family unit, that the Messenger of God, commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, takes his own family in this very important challenge, in this very important mission. Number three, what is described in the Holy Quran regarding these holy individuals? That Sayyidah Fatima is described as representing what? All of the women. That the holy Imam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, is described as Nafsu Rasulillah, the soul of the Messenger of God. But importantly, related to our discussion, Imam al-Hasan and Hussein are described as the sons of the Prophet. Yes, the Quran comes forward and says, فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْ نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ. Our sons and your sons. You might ask the question, what is the significance of this? Well, if you read Islamic history, you'll recognize that there were people who came after the Prophet and began to spread this idea that Hassan and Hussein were not the sons of the Prophet. They were the grandsons of the Prophet. What do we mean? In the idea, people like Muawiyah used to say, I never had anyone call Hassan and Hussein the sons of the Prophet. This was something that was advocated by people in order to remove that connection or that status enjoyed by these holy imams. I remember that one time Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, this wretched individual, the governor of Iraq during the Umayyad dynasty, he came forward and heard that the Qadi of Khurasan, yes, by the name of Yahya, this man used to say Hassan and Hussein are the sons of the Prophet. He summoned him. He said, how dare you? He says, what do you mean? He says, I want you to give me proof from the Quran that Hassan and Hussein are the sons. And you are not allowed to recite chapter 3 verse 61. Hajjaj knew that this man would what? Would recite, yes, the ayah of Mubahala. He said, I will recite for you the following verse. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَنُوحًا هَدَيْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِهِ دَاوُودَ وَسُلَيْمَانَ. That starts with what? Nuh. We guided him, and from his progeny are whom? Dawood, Sulaiman, and a number of prophets, wa Zakaria, wa Yahya, wa Isa. That amongst his progeny is what? Isa. This man looks up and says, the Quran says, from amongst the progeny of whom Prophet Nuh, who is considered to be his son, is Isa, despite the fact that Isa did not have a father. So, in order for this to be established, it had to be through the mother. That is how we understand it. Hajjaj says, it is as if I've never heard this verse before. That I will save your life because of you quoting this verse. That's why Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, came forward and said what? When he came forward, he would be visiting the blessed grave of the Holy Messenger of God. And one time Harun al-Abbasi, and narrations tell us this was the reason why Harun initially imprisoned the 7th Holy Imam. Harun came forward to pay his respects to the grave of the Holy Prophet. He looked at the grave and said, Assalamu alayka yabna al-am. Peace be upon you, O my cousin. Because Harun is Abbasi. Abbas was the uncle of the Holy Prophet. Yes, all those individuals who are sons of Al-Abbas, the cousin of the Holy Prophet, would consider themselves cousins. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far stands right next to him, looks at the grave of the Holy Prophet and says, Assalamu alayka ya abata. Peace be upon you, O my own father. Harun said, how dare you call the Prophet your own father? Imam says, I'll show you. If the Prophet has a daughter, can you marry her? He says, yes. It's allowed, I can marry her, it will be an honor for me. Harun says that I will marry the daughter of the Prophet. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far says, I can't, yes, because I am considered what? Amongst the progeny of Rasulullah, yes, and highlights what? This particular special status. When it comes to, therefore, the life of the Messenger of God, it was indeed something that Imam Al-Hussain, peace and blessings be upon him, cherished. We are told that in the year 6 after Hijrah, there was this peace treaty known as Hudaybiyah. The Holy Prophet took with him Imam Al-Hasan and Hussein in order to witness this particular incident. Not only this, it is recorded in numerous historical accounts, they were included in the bay'ah, giving allegiance to the Holy Prophet. The mu'mineen had to give allegiance to Rasulullah. Amongst those who gave allegiance was the young Hassan and Hussein. This is considered to be an example of how the Ahl al-Bayt would instill self-esteem in the hearts of the youngsters. That the Messenger of God did not necessarily dismiss the young Hassan and Hussein. Continuously there was this encouragement, there was this positive reinforcement, there was the strengthening of self-esteem. Today sometimes we lack this particular focus upon our youngsters, in the idea that some of our youth lack this self-confidence, especially our sisters. In the modern era where many are looking to what? Somehow gain that recognition, somehow gain that positive sentence or positive encouragement from others, they resort to, for example, changing their appearances or looking differently or wearing certain type of clothing to get that tap on the back. Yes, self-esteem is great and very important when it comes to the upbringing of children. That's why we are told it was painful for the young Imam to witness the last few days of the life of the Messenger of Allah. To lose one's grandfather is what? Is a sorrowful experience. But to lose the Rasulullah is something else altogether, isn't it? Narrations tell us that in the last few days of the life of the Holy Prophet, Sayyidatun Nisa came to the Holy Prophet and said to him, Ya Rasulullah, I want you to inherit or to pass something so that my sons inherit from you. Listen to this narration. This is very important. What can you pass on specifically to my sons? Rasulullah would come forward and say, I am giving Hassan al-hayba was-su'dud wal-hilm. I am passing on to him the special hayba that we spoke about, the status and the awe. Su'dud means authority, dominance, rule, as well as forbearance. And I am giving Hussein what? Ash-shuja'a wal-judi wal-rahmah, bravery, generosity, and mercy. These I'm going to give to Abu Abdullah. Question that must emerge and must be asked by each and every individual. Does that mean that the other Imam did not have those qualities? No. You and I are encouraged to think that when it comes to the Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum as-salam, yes, these Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt, they share these qualities, but sometimes it emerges at certain moments and due to certain circumstances of society. That Imam as-Sajjad, what is known as Zayn al-Abidin, but the 9th Holy Imam is also Zayn al-Abidin. In other words, his devotion to Allah would be not less significant than the 4th Holy Imam. The 9th Holy Imam is Imam al-Jawad al-Taqi. The 5th Holy Imam is also Jawad and Taqi. They all have these characteristics and attributes, but sometimes these titles are given to them what? Due to the prevalence at that time, due to what people witnessed or what they were somehow known by. That is why it's of the utmost importance for you and I to ensure that we honor their legacy and not necessarily disrespect any of the Imams. What does that mean? That means, why is it that sometimes when we honor the life of the 10th Holy Imam, whether it comes to his wilada or shahada, you'll see less people attending than when it comes to, for example, the shahada of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Why? Why when it comes to honoring Imam al-Hasan al-Askari, his wilada, for example, you don't see as many people when it comes to the wilada of Imam Zayn al-Abidin? Why? I wonder sometimes, and I've said this, that there are those who call these events small and big kushalis. You've heard these terms? I say to them, why are you not attending tomorrow? Tomorrow is the wilada of the 7th, or the wafat of the 7th Imam. They say, you know what, it's not a big wafat. Ajib. Now we have classified them into small and big. Somehow in our minds, yes, we have placed them into priority and what? Significance. Who told you that the shahada of the 7th Imam is less significant than the shahada of the 4th Imam? Which alim, which marja', which book, which scholar, which Islam? This is our own concoction. This is our own culture. Number one. Number two, people tell me, you know, towards the end of the first 10 nights of Muharram, you'll see more attendance. Why? Oh, but brother, it's the night of Hazrat Abbas. Great, it's the night of Hazrat Abbas. We honor this honorable individual. But this night of Hazrat Abbas is not necessarily something that the Imams have said is the night of Hazrat Abbas. It's a cultural matter. It's good. But it doesn't mean just because I have been told this is a special night, I should show up. But the second night, third night, fourth night, no, Maulana, I'm staying at home. Why are you turning up on the 7th night? Oh, but it's a special night. This idea of classification of religion according to whims and desires is dangerous. We must uproot it. Imam al-Husain's mission is reform. Don't tell me because of my forefathers, they did this. First 5 nights, I'm not attending. Last 5 nights, my father and my grandfather did it. Now I will do it. That is not an excuse. I must be brave enough and strong enough to follow in the footsteps of Abu Abdullah to reform practices that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I need to move within the direction that was given to me by the holy Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. That's why when it comes to this particular idea, what do we find? We find that the holy Imams alayhim as-salam would be surrounding the Prophet in his last few days. Narration tells us that in one instance when the Prophet was going through illness, he asked Imam al-Hasan and Hussein to stand up and to leave because the Prophet needed to be by himself. But the Prophet looked at Amir al-Mu'mineen and said, no, keep them. I want to spend as much time as possible. I want them to hug me. I want them to be next to me. This was something that is recorded in history without a shadow of a doubt. Similarly, we are told the Prophet said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, when you perform the rituals over my body, I want you to include Hassan and Hussein with you as well. I want you to have these two together to perform these particular rituals, isn't it? He would encourage them and indeed give them support and ask them to be patient. In his last few days, the greatest creation of Allah, the Holy Messenger of God, would be what? Would speak to Imam al-Hasan and would speak to Imam al-Hussein and would tell them of what would happen to them. Yes. Would tell them what would occur later. That's why the narrations tell us that the pain and the suffering of losing Rasulullah was immense on the heart of Hussein, as well as his brother Imam al-Hasan. But imagine that the next 6 months would be tremendously difficult. And next time you hear and you listen to the Masa'ib of the 10th of Muharram, remember that Abu Abdullah, when he was 6 or 7, went through tremendous difficulty. Those moments of losing Rasulullah was the start of many masa'ib, many calamities, much difficulty and indeed hardship, isn't it? We are told that only a few days after the passing away of the Messenger of God, yes, the idea emerged that what? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, when we finished the rituals and when we buried the Messenger, I did not leave the house until I compiled the Quran. And as soon as I compiled the Quran, I took with me Hassan and Hussein and Fatima. And we went round to the houses of those who fought in Badr. The Sahaba, the companions. And we asked them for support. Only 4 individuals supported us. Salman, Miqdad, Ammar and Abu Dhar. That's it. We did not see anyone else support us. Yes. Imam Hussain from a young age was involved by Amir al-Mu'mineen in establishing social justice and calling for haqq and righteousness from a young age. Understand that these things are very significant. They are not small matters in the life of the Imam alayhi salam. They shaped his personality. The calling towards asking for the legitimate haqq to be given was something that is established. What else was witnessed? Later, of course, the land that belonged to Sayyidatun Nisa, Fatima, salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. This particular land is known as Fadak, isn't it? That this land that was given to her by the Messenger of God in the year 7 after Hijrah, after the Battle of Khaybar, that she had her own workers inside, was usurped from her only a few days after the sad demise of the Holy Prophet. But what happened was, when she demanded and called and said that this land belongs to me, the first Khalifa Abu Bakr said to her, bring me witnesses that they will testify that this land belongs to you. Who did she bring? She brought her sons Hassan and Hussein. She brought Amir al-Mu'mineen. She brought Asma bint Umays. And she brought Hani. These individuals were presented as people who will testify that the land of Fadak belonged to Fatima. But their testimony was rejected. They said Hassan and Hussein are the sons. Ali is the husband. Asma bint Umays. What is interesting about Asma was at that moment she was married to Abu Bakr. Asma bint Umays initially married Ja'far al-Tayyar, the brother of Amir al-Mu'mineen. In the year 8 after Hijrah, he was martyred, yes. She then married the first Khalifa Abu Bakr. Later, when Abu Bakr died, she married Amir al-Mu'mineen. And her son from Abu Bakr, Muhammad, was raised by Amir al-Mu'mineen, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhi, one of the great companions of the Imam. Asma was married to Abu Bakr, but she stood against the first Khalifa. She said, I bear witness that the land of Fadak belongs to Fatima. Notice we have great women in history. Sometimes we don't mention them enough. But they stood with full conviction, Lord of Ali Muhammad, and amongst them was Asma. They said, Asma, no, we can't accept her testimony because she was married to Ja'far, and Ja'far is from Bani Hashim, therefore her testimony is not acceptable. What about Hani? Yes. Hani was rejected also because she was a servant in the house of Ali and Fatima. Amir al-Mu'mineen came forward and said some wonderful, beautiful lines in this regard. He came forward and said, Amma Fatima, فَبِضْعَةُ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ مِنْ أَبَاهَا. She is the part of the Holy Prophet of Islam. Yes. مَنْ كَذَّبَهَا. Yes. Whomsoever dismisses her, dismisses the Holy Prophet. And then he goes on to say, وَأَمَّا الْحَسَنُ وَالْحُسَيْنُ, for they are the sons of the Holy Messenger of God. سَيِّدَا شَبَابِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. They are the masters of the youth of what? Of paradise. Whomsoever makes them as liars, considers them as liars, has considered the Messenger of God as liar, isn't it? And then he goes on to say, أَمَّا أَنَا فقد قال رسول الله أنت مني وأنا منك وأنت أخي في الدنيا والآخرة. You are from me and I am from you, and you are my brother in this world and the hereafter. من أطاعك فقد أطاعني. Whomsoever obeys you has obeyed me. ومن عصاك فقد عصاني. Whomsoever disobeys you has disobeyed me. As well as Ayman. You recognize that Ayman is of the people of Jannah, isn't she? Because the Prophet said she is of the people of Jannah. Yet unfortunately, as we have today, and the trend continues today, there are people who recognize that these verses in the Quran have been revealed in the merit of the Ahlul Bayt. People, majority of the Muslim world today will tell you that what? That when it comes to the Ahlul Bayt, Ayatul Tathir was revealed in their merit. Yes, many of our brothers from other schools, they say the women, the wives of the Prophet are included, but they do not exclude Ashabul Kisa. They include them. But you tell them, why do you, when it comes to, for example, prayers, when it comes to the discussion regarding the Ahl al-Bayt or the Holy Prophet, you do not include them in the salawat? For example, why? I made an investigation. I thought with myself, maybe sometimes from a minbar we say something and it is not backed by evidence scientifically. Although it is my own investigation and I do not claim to have full conclusive results. But I decided to look at YouTube and to go through famous speakers in English from our brothers, other schools of thought. Anyone you can think of without mentioning their name. I went to their lectures and I listened, not one sample, several samples, to see how many of them, when they mention the Prophet, say sallallahu alayhi wa alih, and how many say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Just as a conclusion. Many times we say, look, you all Muslims, you are not respecting Ali Muhammad. You're not including the Al in the salawat. Because it's in Bukhari, isn't it? That the Prophet of Islam indeed was asked, how do we recite salawat upon your family? And the response was that you must include what? You must say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Therefore, this is something that is agreed on by all Muslims. The conclusion after several hours of research was that 0% from the speakers of our brothers say wa Ali. 0. I could not find one English speaker. Why? The Holy Ahl al-Bayt belong to us. When you recognize their status, you must also honor them. The least we can honor them is to include them in salawat, which the Prophet said you must include them. That's the least thing. Anyway. This is a realization that indeed was prevalent at that time. They realized whom Imam al-Hasan and Hussein were, who Lady Fatima was, who Amir al-Mu'mineen. One testimony regarding Fadak and they dismissed them all. Love of dunya. Love of power and wealth, isn't it? Having said that, when it comes to the Imams alayhim salam, they experienced, especially Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, as we are talking about his illustrious life and his biography, those few months were tremendously painful and difficult. In which way? I tell you, there is one thing seeing the rights of your father being usurped and taken away, and another witnessing that the land that belongs to your mother has been what? Deprived. But a third, seeing your own mother attacked in your own house. That when Husayn ibn Ali, that when the Imams look at their mother in this state, when she was crushed between the wall and the door, when she had to lose her unborn son, this would break the heart of any child when they see their mother suffering in this way. I tell you, when you reflect upon the 10th of Muharram, know how much masa'ib and how much grief did Hussein see with his own eyes. From a young age. That's why the narrations tell us this Asma bint Umays radwanullahi ta'ala alayha was the one who looked after Sayyidah Fatima in her last few months of this life. And in the last day of the life of Sayyidah Fatima, she said to Asma that I am going to go inside my room and I am going to recite the Quran. And I don't want anyone to disturb me. When you don't hear my voice, know that I have left this world. When Imams Hassan and Hussein came back later to the house, they were in the mosque praying. When they came back later to the house, they wanted to see their mother Fatima. Asma said, your mother is resting. They said, our mother does not rest at this time. Asma said, I have prepared some food for you. They said, we are not interested and we are not hungry. Where is our mother? They rushed to the room and they saw their mother in that state. I ask you, how can a son in the year of their childhood see their mother in this state? But how did they see their mother Fatima? She had lost so much weight. The narrations tell us that she was as if stuck to the ground. And they threw themselves on her body. Hassan would say to his mother, oh mother, this is your son Hassan, answer me. Hussein would say, oh mother Fatima, who has made us orphans? And indeed later they would take part in the funeral of whom? Of their mother Fatima. In those most difficult of moments for Ali Muhammad, that would constantly play in the mind of the Imam alayhi salam. But those years after losing their mother Fatima was characterized by what in the life of Imam alayhi salam? Was characterized by the nurturing and the upbringing with his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Mawla al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. It was powerful, isn't it? We are told that those few months after the Holy Messenger, indeed, the Imams Hassan and Hussein would remember the times of the Holy Prophet, especially when they saw Bilal. One narration says they saw Bilal come back. Yes, he had left Medina. They said to him, please recite the adhan for us. We'd love to remember the time of the Messenger of God. Bilal had refused to recite adhan for anyone. But when he was requested by Imams Hassan and Hussein, he recited the adhan to the extent that everyone in the city of Medina would remember the time of the Messenger, and people cried and cried. Later, Sayyidah Fatima in her life would also request Bilal to recite the adhan, but she could not tolerate listening to it, and after the first few sentences fell unconscious, remembering the time of her Holy Father. Narrations tell us that they would be instrumental in standing against injustice and what? And any wrongdoing. They were being looked after, Imam al-Hassan and Hussein, being looked after by their father, the voice of human justice. And at their early years, their youthful years, the seeking of justice was well ingrained and inculcated in their thoughts and in their setup. We are told that, for example, we take a few examples as a lesson for our youth today. In terms of the youthful years of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Peace and blessings be upon him. We are told during the Khilafah of the second Khalifa, Umar ibn al-Khattab. This narration is recorded in numerous books of history. On the day of Friday, this individual was reciting the khutbah. He was reciting from the minbar. Amongst the attendees was the young Hussein. All of a sudden, he stands up before people and screams, Inzil an mimbar abi. Come down from the minbar that belongs to my father. Hussein speaks the truth. Is not worried about what? Is not worried about the thoughts of the people. He spoke these wonderful words that what? That would give this indication about the valor and the courage that he had. Later, what happened was that Umar ibn Khattab descends. He comes down from the minbar. He's embarrassed. He looks at him and says, indeed, you're right. This is the minbar of your father. But let me ask you, who taught you to say this? Who encouraged you to utter these words and to stand in the middle amongst people and to shout out such a sentence? Imam al-Hussein says, nobody taught me. This is from me. Yes. Imam knew that he would say anyone, that individual would be blamed. But Imam alayhi salam would, without a shadow of a doubt, utter the words of truth. When it comes to the 12 years of the rule of Uthman ibn Affan, there are a number of issues that historians have discussed with regards to the life of the Imam that requires your attention. Slightly technical, but they're very, very important. Because of the existence of misconceptions when it comes to this segment of his life. What do we mean? This is in relation to what's known as the futuhat, the conquests that took place primarily during the reign of Uthman ibn Affan. The time of Uthman ibn Affan was known and characterized with much nepotism, with much corruption. Bani Umayyah strengthened their grip in power. People such as Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan became more and more consolidated as far as his rule is concerned in Sham. Yet one of the aspects that was witnessed in history was the number of conquests and these so-called futuhat that took place. And when you study historical accounts, they claim that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, in addition with his brother, took part in these conquests. Did Imam al-Hussein fight in those battles or not? This is a very important historical question. Why? Because when you look at these particular conquests, we find that they took place for approximately 100 years, from the year 11 after Hijrah all the way to the year 113 after Hijrah. And they resulted in the conquering of much land. For example, North Africa. For example, Iran. For example, what? Iraq. For example, Spain, modern day Spain. But the only exception in these 100 so years was the time of the rule of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the few months, 6 months of the rule of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. That was the only exception where there was no such conquests. When you come to study historical accounts, for example, you have the book Historical Works of Ibn Athir, as well as Tabari, as well as Tarikh of Ibn Khaldun. They claim that Imam alayhi salam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Aba Abdullah, took part in at least 3 of these conquests and he fought. They say he took part in the year 26 after Hijrah in the conquest of North Africa. He took part in the year 29 after Hijrah in the battle known as the Battle of Tabristan, and he took part in the year 48 after Hijrah at the time of Muawiyah in the Battle of Constantinople, which is modern day Istanbul. And interestingly, they say, and listen to this, they say the army that Imam Hussain fought was headed by Yazid. Yazid was a commander in the army, they say, and Imam Hussain was one of the soldiers fighting with him. That is what history today. Look at the history works that we have. What is our response? The school of Ahl al-Bayt has categorically rejected and completely denies the suggestion that the Imams alayhim salam ever took part in any of these battles whatsoever. Why? You might say, how can we argue? How can we present? What is the case with regards to this? Number one, it is established without doubt that Amir al-Mu'mineen did not take part. Nobody claims that Amir al-Mu'mineen took part. Therefore, when Imam alayhi salam would not take part, he would not send his sons. Number one. Number two, Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt, including Imam al-Hassan al-Hussein, in the words of the Messenger of God, are Imams divinely chosen by Allah. Qama aw qa'uda. They are Imams, whether people choose them or not. They are representatives of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, because of this, they will never be under the direction and the leadership of a non-ma'soom. They cannot be under the direction of a commander or a general in one of these battles. They are Imams who are ma'soom, chosen, divinely selected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three, when it comes to the Khilafah of Umar ibn al-Khattab, he also had a number of conquests. Umar died and was killed in the year 23 after Hijrah. We are told in historical records that the first battle they say that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam took part in was in the year 26 after Hijrah, 3 years into the Khilafah of Uthman ibn Affan. What do we say? We say if the Imam took part, why didn't he take part in the expeditions during the time of Umar? Why only during the time of Uthman? Given that the time of Uthman was even more troubling, given that there were more problems as far as what? Nepotism and the growth of Bani Umayyah is concerned. That's number three. Number four, when you study these particular futuhat, what do you recognize? There was much crime and violation of Islamic law that took place. People were killed. People's rights were taken away. For example, some were coerced. Innocent individuals lost their lives. The Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt would never take part in such activity. The Imams of the Ahl al-Bayt would never be part of any form of injustice or oppression. Number five, when it comes to this, you recognize that the purpose behind these expeditions or these conquests was to gain land and what? To expand the kingdom. It was not necessarily for the sake of the religion of Islam. It was not necessarily noble objectives. And that's why when you look at certain examples, like for example this battle that they claim the Imam alayhi salam took part in the year 29 after Hijrah. Listen to this narration in the same book of Ibn Athir. It is said that Sa'id ibn al-As, who is the commander of the army in this battle that they say Imam was also fighting, he came forward and he said to this group of people who were living in an area known as Tumaysa, they were trying to conquer this land. He said to them that if you surrender, we give you immunity and we give you refuge. We won't hurt you. They all surrendered. Each and every one of them, as far as men is concerned, surrendered and did not fight. They opened up the gates to the city and to the area, and this particular Muslim army entered. This man, Sa'id ibn al-As, killed them all, every single one of them. Same book. They say Imam Hussain was one of them. Slaughtered these people that said we surrender. These people that said we will not fight. This is an example of what? Of what history presents about the nature of such incidents. Now when it comes to the other area during the Khilafah of Uthman and Affan, which was of prime importance, was what? Was speaking out against the wrong that was happening. And Imam alayhi salam's words and actions continued with regards to calling for haqq, with regards to fighting for justice. Let's look at a few examples. One of them was one that is narrated at the time of Uthman. Abu Sufyan was blind. When he was blind, he saw Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and he was told he was walking. So he called out, "Oh Hussein, please help me, hold my hands." So Imam al-Hussein came, held the hands. So "What do you want to go?" He said, "I want to go to Baqi'." Where? The cemetery of Baqi'. Let us never forget the cemetery of Baqi'. Even during the ayyam of Aza of Muharram, at all times throughout the year, it's a matter of prime importance in our lives. The cemetery of Baqi' is not just a cemetery that's been destroyed. A cemetery of Baqi' is one that was close to the heart of the Messenger of God and all the Ahl al-Bayt. It's the oldest Islamic cemetery. It's a cemetery that verses of the Quran was revealed in. It's a cemetery which is sacred. And today the violation of this cemetery continues. That you and I have a responsibility continuously to what? To speak the truth and to demand respect given to these particular holy graves of the Imams as well as other prominent individuals in this cemetery. Now when Imam alayhi salam held the hand of Abu Sufyan inside Jannatul Baqi', Abu Sufyan said what? He went to one of the graves and he started to kick it. He did the same with the grave of Hamza. And started to say, "Oh people of Baqi', what you died for is now in our hands. We are playing with it." That means the religion of Islam has become within our grasp now, within our control. At that moment, Imam al-Hussein would not stand a second of such despicable words and behavior from Abu Sufyan. He let go of his hands, looked at him and says, قَبَّحَكَ اللَّهُ وَقَبَّحَ شَيْبَتَكَ. May Allah disgrace you and disgrace your beard. And he left them alone in Baqi'. If he was not found by Al-Bashir ibn Nu'man, people said he would have died. Abu Sufyan would have died. Why did Imam al-Hussein say this? And why did he leave Abu Sufyan alone in Baqi'? It is a stance against the kufr of Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan, when he said, "I'm a Muslim," he was a hypocrite, without a shadow of a doubt, isn't it? That the idea that emerged was that Imam al-Hussein would not take anything such a statement like that from this wretched individual. Now you come forward and you see this continuation of the support of the oppressed and the calling of justice by Sayyid al-Shuhada, by all the Ahl al-Bayt. Another incident that is narrated during the life or during the caliphate of Uthman is that narrated to Abu Dharr al-Ghifari radwanullahi ta'ala alayhi. Abu Dharr was known to be a trusted companion of the Messenger of God. A man whom the Prophet of God would say, he is what? All truth. If you want to see truth, you see Abu Dharr. But Abu Dharr would also speak out. He saw the inequality and the usurping of the wealth and the fact that what? That some of the prominent companions of the Messenger of God were all concerned with accumulation of wealth and not fair equal distribution. Therefore he spoke out. Uthman ibn Affan banished him towards Damascus. He said, "Go live there." Muawiyah sent him back to Medina and says, "I don't want him here. He's turning many people against us." And therefore Uthman decided to banish him to his birthplace, Al-Rabada. The Prophet of Islam would say regarding this particular individual, O Abu Dhar, you will believe by yourself and you will die by yourself. When Abu Dharr al-Ghifari radwanullahi ta'ala alayhi was about to leave, each and every member of the Ahl al-Bayt, including Amir al-Mu'mineen, including Imam al-Hassan, including Imam Hussain, peace and blessings be upon them all, spoke to him, consoled him, gave him encouragement. Listen to the words of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, how he spoke to Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. He said to him, Ya Amma, inna Allah ta'ala qadirun an yughayyira ma qad tara, wallahu kulla yawmin huwa fi sha'n. Oh Abu Dharr, Allah can change whatever you're going through. He knows what you're going through. And everything may change. That means don't despair. Then he says, وَقَدْ مَنَعَكَ الْقَوْمُ دُنْيَاهُمْ وَمَنَعْتَهُمْ دِينَكَ. Allahu Akbar. What a sentence. He says, Oh Abu Dharr, these people have deprived you from dunya, but now they're going to be deprived from your religion. The fact that they are banishing you, they're losing out, because you're such an esteemed companion of the Holy Prophet. Then he says, فَمَا أَغْنَاكَ عَمَّا مَنَعُوكَ. You are enriched with whatever they have deprived you from. وَأَحْوَجَهُمْ إِلَى مَا مَنَعْتَهُمْ. But they are in need from what you are going to deprive them from. You don't need the dunya, but they need the religion. Then he says these monumental words, فَاسْأَلُ اللَّهَ الصَّبْرَ وَالنَّصْرَ. Ask Allah for patience and for victory. وَاسْتَعِذْ بِهِ. And seek refuge in Him. مِنَ الْجَشَعِ وَالْجَزَعِ. Don't ever look for greed and don't ever lose hope. Imam would say to Abu Dharr, and he would say to him, فَإِنَّ الْجَشَعِ لَا يُقَدِّمُ رِزْقًا. Because greed does not bring about rizq. وَالْجَزَعْ لَا يُؤَخِّرُ أَجَلًا. And to lose hope does not delay that which has been said by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam alayhi salam would speak and would continuously admonish and would highlight what is important and what is not. And that is why, very briefly, some people ask the question, these were the youthful years of the Imam alayhi salam. What can the youth learn from Sayyid al-Shuhada? In these years, what did he do that can be instrumental and inspirational for our youth today to pick up, given all the challenges that they face in modern day society? And you know, we have so much hope in our youth. And we have so much positive outlook in our youth. May Allah bless them. Those individuals who are seeking and struggling and working hard, we must never undermine them. We must never say, oh, these people don't know what Islam is all about. We must never judge them. We must never put them aside. But indeed, we must make Islam something compatible and relatable to them, and invite them and empower them and grant them support and assistance for the fulfillment of the mission. You look at some youth today, they are making huge strides in the world. This lady by the name of Greta Thunberg, you've heard of her? She's 16 years of age. She is one of the most vocal voices today in the world when it comes to climate change. She's even what started off with her own family. She stopped eating meat, she stopped using airplanes. She's demanding countries, and she had a speech at the UN, and she's being quoted by presidents and prominent individuals. She's only 16 years of age. Today there is a power that our youth can utilize without a shadow of a doubt. One of the things that we can learn is from Sayyid al-Shuhada is not to say that I am too young or I don't have resources, is to utilize whatever we have to do good and to speak the truth. Social media is a powerful tool. May Allah bless all our youngsters, our youth. Today, one honorable member of this blessed community told me about his daughters. They saw in the United Kingdom one tweet from one of the universities saying that happy Muharram. They responded to that particular university, the Montfort University, and said to them, Muharram is not about happiness. Muharram is about commemoration of the tragedy of Karbala. It's about honoring the grandson of the Holy Prophet. They said, we apologize. They deleted the tweet. From this community, I.E.C. Husaini. At the end of the day, there is so much that can be done from our youngsters, from our youth. Yes, each and every one of them can make a tremendous difference wherever they are. They are encouraged to take these active steps And the parents and our community elders are encouraged to support them and empower them. Grant them the tools necessary to accelerate and to serve and to increase their development. Number one. Number two, spiritually, the youth goes through a number of challenges. As far as the iman, sometimes it hits rock bottom. Sometimes there is vast temptations. Sometimes there is peer pressure, urging them to do things which are not right. Sometimes there are environments which is polluted for the soul. Sayyid al-Shuhada, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He is presented with a situation that a man, perhaps a young man, comes to him and says, Ya Aba Abdullah, I have so many temptations and I can't say no to sin. I keep sinning. Imam alayhi salam says, I give you 5 situations. If you can do one of them, then you can sin as much as you like. It's brilliant. First of all, go somewhere where Allah would not see you and sin as much as you like. If you can't, go somewhere in which Allah is not in control of and sin as much as you like. If you can't, eat that which Allah has not created and sin as much as you like. If you can't, then when the angel of death comes to you wishing to take your soul, delay it. Say, excuse me, come back tomorrow. And if you can't, then when Malik, the angel of Jahannam, takes you towards hellfire, seek a different direction. Tell him, I want to go to Jannah instead. Can you do that? Imam alayhi salam wants to shake the conscience of the youth, yes, and says, understand where you are, understand these trigger factors, these temptations. Today we live in a world where, for example, in the internet there are so many unfortunate traps of shaitan. I call it the I.E.C. Work so hard online, not only on social media, on all these filthy websites, on all these practices which are what? Which are detrimental to one's faith. So many temptations, suggestions after suggestions, adverts, pictures, images, contacts with others that we should not necessarily have. Imam alayhi salam encourages patience. Imam alayhi salam encourages steadfastness. You see, these youthful ages, if we are able to protect our identity, our strength, our iman, our taqwa, if we are able to build on ourselves to ensure that we serve and make a difference to community, that will have a huge bearing on later on in life. Sayyid al-Shuhada, those years that he lived under the guidance of the Holy Messenger, then under the guidance of Amir al-Mu'mineen, then with his own brother Imam al-Hassan, peace and blessings be upon him, all made a huge impact upon his personality, without a shadow of a doubt. Today we must recognize that the Western world encourages you and I as youth to think that when I am at school or university, it's all about having fun. It's all about doing things that later on in life I need to settle down. Therefore, I should what? I should commit the, God forbid, fornication. Therefore, I should listen to the haram music. Therefore, I should try these illicit drugs because you're young. You should do that. That's what everyone does. But a believer who recognizes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed us in an area at a time of hardship, trials and tribulations, understands that a strong youthful age means a strong life, means a successful akhirah. It's all connected. It's all linked to another. Don't think that when you turn 40, for those youngsters amongst us, all of a sudden you can start practicing your salah and you can start practicing your faith correctly. Some of the sisters, we say to them, why don't you wear hijab? They say, when later, and I'm 50 and 60. I'll delay it later. This is one of the false promises of the shaitan. Shaitan wants us to delay as much as possible. We are forming our character and we need to be careful how we form and shape our personality in our youthful age. That's why one of those who was close to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein in those years and would be serving him and would be eager to do whatever it takes to be considered from Ashab al-Hussein is Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayh. Habib is 20 years approximately older than Imam Hussain, approximately 18 years. Because on the 10th of Muharram, some narration says he was 75 years of age. However, he was so eager to sacrifice his life for the Ahl al-Bayt that he would come to Amir al-Mu'mineen in the battle of Siffin, in the battle of Nahrawan, in the battle of Jamal, and he would say to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm still alive. You promised that I will attain Shahada. Imam would say to him, you will indeed gain the reward of martyrdom, but with my son Hussein. It's as if he's saying, you are reserved for my son Aba Abdullah. This Habib ibn Mudahir was anticipating fighting with Aba Abdullah. That's why when he was in Kufa and he received that letter inviting him to come to Karbala, he was shaking initially. His wife said to him, why are you shaking? Why are you hesitant? Read this letter. What is it from? It's from my master, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Hussein. He kisses the letter, he places it on his forehead, and he reads it. He's inviting me to come to Karbala. What an invitation. How honorable is this letter, and how wonderful is this invitation from Hussein. He then decides to leave. But because it was so difficult to leave Kufa, and the city was somehow closed off, he asks his servant, wait for me at night with my horse. I will depart at night so that I can leave Kufa. He is delayed somehow, and then he approaches at night and he sees his servant, his slave, standing next to the horse. He begins to hear the conversation that his servant is having with the animal. The servant of Habib says, O horse, my master Habib has not come. But rest assured, if he does not come, I will ride on you and I will go and defend Hussein, the son of Fatima. Habib begins to cry, looks towards the direction of Karbala and says, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. How amazing you are, because even the servants are looking to fight and sacrifice their life and defend you. He takes the horse, the slave begs him, take me with you. He takes him, he approaches Aba Abdullah, he comes to Karbala next to the caravan of righteousness and freedom. When he reaches the land of Karbala, he dismounts from the horse. He comes next to Aba Abdullah. He embraces Imam al-Hussein. He greets Imam al-Hussein. At that moment, a man or a person comes and informs Imam al-Hussein something. Imam al-Hussein says, Habib, my sister Zainab sends salam towards you. Habib falls on the ground. He says, who am I? Well, Habib ibn Mudahir was a devout, loyal, muwali and a lover of Ahl al-Bayt. He would do everything possible to sacrifice and to please Ali Muhammad. On the 10th of Muharram, on the day of Ashura, his friend Muslim ibn Awsaja was a man who attained martyrdom before Habib. They were both from Kufa. Habib goes to Muslim in his last few moments. Muslim ibn Awsaja is breathing his last few moments in this life. He looks at Habib. Habib says to him, "O Muslim, I wish I was living much more after you. I would have asked you if you want me to do something for you. Do you have a will? Do you want me to accomplish something?" Muslim says, yes, I want you to do something for me. Habib says, "Tell me, what can I do? I'm living only a few moments after you." Muslim looks up. He looks at a man. Mudahir did this, isn't it? Despite his age, he fought valiantly like a lion of God on the battlefield. He killed many of the combatants of the enemy of God until he was struck and attained martyrdom. Imam Hussain came next to his body. He would look at Habib ibn Mudahir and would say, Rahimakallahu, O Habib. May Allah's mercy be upon you, O Habib. You are truly an individual who completed the Quran entirely in one night. Habib ibn Mudahir was honored. I tell you, when they lifted the heads of the shuhada in Kufa, Habib's son emerged from the house. He was looking for the head of his father. Why? Because his mother said, find me the head of my husband. I have a reason. He went to see the man carrying the head of Habib on a spear. He came to him and said to him, oh man, I beg you, give me the head of my father. He said, how much would you pay me? He said, whatever you want, I would pay you. The head of Habib was given to the son. The son picks the head of his father, hugs it, kisses it, rushes towards the house. I ask you, when a wife sees the head of her husband in such a state, what would she do? What state would she be in? Not the wife of Habib. When she was given the head of Habib, she kissed it. Then she looked up and says, Assalamu alayki ya Fatima al-Zahra. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين وإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, to allow us to perform the ziyarah of the shrines of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum as-salam, and to attain the shafa'ah on the day of Qiyamah. Ya Allah, allow us to live in the footprints and the footsteps of these holy individuals such as Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi. Ya Allah, bless us with the service towards mankind in the name of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, and allow us to rise with the holy 12th Imam. Ya Allah, hasten his reappearance and grant respite to all those who are suffering around the world, especially our brothers and sisters in Yemen, Syria, Kashmir, in China, and anywhere else where there is oppression. ماتم حسين يا حسين.